this video, we're going over the new best settings to use here in Black Ops 6. If you're just getting on the game after Christmas and looking to drastically improve your aim, accuracy, and gun skill, I got you covered. I know the setting can be quite confusing here in Black Ops 6. So if that sounds good, feel free, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on those post notifications, and let's get into it. As you can see, I play with a Xbox Elite controller on PC with one paddle on the back, the short paddle set up for jumping. These settings are going to work no matter what controller you are playing with and also no matter what console you are playing on. Now, even though I have a controller with a paddle on the back, I still rock tactical button layout. This is going to be a great setting allowing you to remap your crouch and prone button so you can go down to a crouch and prone by pressing down on the right thumbstick. This is also going to allow you to aim down sight while you are going to a crouch and prone position, so you can essentially drop shot and aim down sight, making you a lot more agile, a lot more deadly at those close and medium ranges. And with the Omni movement, this is a setting that's going to work wonders if you are trying to run and gun. I recommend going ahead and trying out the tactical button layout. I made this switch all the way back in Call of Duty World at War, and I have not returned to the standard button layout, even though back then I was playing with a controller that did not have paddles on the back. This is still going to be the best button layout. Now, as you guys can see here, I play on a 1.6 horizontal as well as a 1.6 vertical stick sensitivity. This is going to be roughly equivalent to a 7/8 sensitivity if we're going to be referring to the old school settings. If Black Ops 6 is your first Call of Duty back since they made the adjustment, I will be putting up a conversion chart on the screen right now so you can fine tune your settings and revert back to what you were originally running. Now, whenever you are trying to drastically improve your aim, accuracy, and gun skill, I am a firm believer that you should not be running the highest sensitivity possible. I always recommend players playing on the 4 to 6 sensitivity window, which is going to be roughly a 1.2 to a 1.6 sensitivity setting. I know that 1.6 might feel like a 7 to 8, and it can feel a little bit high to some players who are not that accurate at longer ranges, but I still would go ahead and play with your sensitivity settings within that window, because the sensitivities in that window are going to be allowing you, number one, to turn on other players. You can still have movement at closer ranges, but at longer ranges where gunfights are actually going to count, you can stay accurate and make sure that you're hitting shots on target and getting the fastest time to kill. And that's exactly why I play on a 1.6, because it's fast enough to dominate at closer ranges, but not fast enough to throw off my aim and accuracy at longer ranges, where I feel like a lot of players are falling short. Now, everything else here is going to be pretty much the same. I do have my controller vibration turned off. The reason I turn off my vibration is because I don't want any unnecessary play in my controller that could potentially throw off my aim and accuracy. If you are struggling with long range engagements, I recommend going ahead and turning off your vibration and giving it a try. This is honestly going to be a setting where you're either going to turn it off and never turn it back on, or turn it off and maybe you like the vibration, maybe you like that more real world effect in game and you like to keep it on. But for me personally, I like to go ahead and shut this off. Now, as far as the dead zone settings go, these are my personal dead zone settings. Dead zones are going to be dependent on your controller and your controller health. Luckily, the Xbox Elite controller do not have a lot of stick play, so I'm not really having to adjust my dead zone settings as maybe a Scuff or a Battle Beaver controller. But again, I wanted to go ahead and showcase my dead zone settings just in case you wanted to copy it if you have an Xbox Elite controller. Now, under the aiming tab, we are going to be taking a look at the sensitivity multiplier. This is very important because you do want to make some adjustments under this section. Now, you guys can see here, I've left everything at 1.0, which is going to be default, but I have went ahead and changed my ADS sensitivity multiplier as well as the focus multiplier to 0.65. This is very important to do so if you are running between that 4 to 6/7 sensitivity window, especially if you want to maintain your aim, accuracy, and gun skill at those longer ranges. If you're playing on a 4 sensitivity, I recommend going ahead and reducing the 1.0, which comes standard, to 0.75. That's going to counteract that stick play at longer ranges. And if you guys are playing on a 5, 6, 7, or maybe even an 8 sensitivity, I recommend bumping it down to a 0.65 to go ahead and slow it down a little bit more, so you're having less stick play, so you are a little bit more accurate at those longer ranges. This is going to go a long way, especially if you find yourself losing a lot of those mid to long range gunfights. Now, for your aiming advanced settings, you do want to go ahead and expand this. Look inversion, I've not went ahead and really made any adjustments here. Your ADS sensitivity, transition timing, you want to make sure this is set to instant. Sometimes it is reverted back to gradual when you do boot up the game, so make sure that it is on instant. It's going to allow you to have that transition timing immediately, so you're going to be making sure you're locking on the players as quickly as possible. My aim assist response curve type is going to be set to standard. Now, the reason I go ahead and keep this on standard is because I do not want to get used to a setting that can essentially change at a moment's notice. Just like when they went ahead and made a sensitivity settings update and they reverted all the settings to a different value, they could go ahead and make setting changes to linear and dynamic, which they actually have done here in Black Ops 6. So just as a safety precaution, I always keep it on standard, because the last thing you want to do is get used to a sensitivity setting and aim assist response curve type and load up the game after an update and everything feels off, kind of like what happened a few weeks ago. That's exactly why I keep it on standard, making sure everything is going to be streamlined. Everything else here is going to be the same. I've not made any other adjustments under the aiming advanced settings tab. Obviously, target aim assist is going to be turned on. Motion sensor behavior is going to be turned off. And for your motion sensor advanced settings, I've not went ahead and made any changes here, because in all reality, you really should just leave all this stuff alone. Now, for the movement settings, I do have tactical sprint assist turned on. You do want to make sure this is enabled just so you can get around the map a little bit faster. It's one less button you have to press. It's going to be less wear and tear on your controller. So realistically, there's no reason to not have this setting turned on. Now, you want to make sure your sprint assist delay is set to 0, so there is literally no delay when you are trying to go ahead and activate a sprint. Sometimes if the game feels like a little disconnected and things are not running as smoothly, you probably have this set to default, which I believe is like at the max. So make sure you guys have this set to 0, so there is quite literally 0 delay. Everything else here is going to be the same, except that I actually do have mantle assist turned off. The reason I have mantle assist turned off is because I do not want to have any unnecessary movements happening when I'm in a gunfight. Let's say that I'm trying to take a couple players out and there's like a box or some type of object in front of me. The last thing I want to do is accidentally mantle while in a gunfight. In Black Ops 6, that is going to be a guaranteed death. So I make sure I have this turned off. And here, this is going to be a setting that you don't have to adjust, but I personally adjust. I have my slide dive behavior on hybrid. This is going to allow myself to essentially not go into a dive or a slide when I don't want to. I'm going to be controlling that. So if you find yourself accidentally diving using the Omni movement when you don't want to actually use the Omni movement, make sure you guys have this on hybrid. You're going to have a little bit more control, and I feel like that's going to be the best way to really control what's going on here in Black Ops 6. Let me know down in the comment section if you guys enjoy the Omni movement. Me personally, I don't mind it because I have it set to hybrid, so I am controlling all of it. But again, I don't know what you guys are feeling about Omni movement, because the fact that a lot of things are buggy here in Black Ops 6, and honestly, that's just one less thing I want to have, you know, impacting my gameplay. But again, everything else here is going to be the same. I've not made any adjustments. And under combat, again, everything else here is going to be the same. The only thing I have made adjustments to is for the C4 detonation. If I ever decide to use C4, you want to have this at 1x1, because if you don't have this at 1x1, if you try to detonate a C4 device, you have to throw both of them at the same time. And obviously, you don't really want that to happen. You want to be able to control exactly what's going on in game to your liking. That's exactly why I have 1x1 enabled. But again, everything else is going to be pretty much the same. I have not made any other adjustments under these settings. Now for the graphics settings, we are taking a look at the view tab. This is going to be the most important tab you want to go ahead and take a look at. Now for your FOV, make sure you guys have this set to the 100 to 120 FOV range. This is going to be really important to allow you to see a bigger picture, and also you can take advantage of the ADS field of view set to affected. You want to switch it from independent to affected. The reason being is because this is going to mirror whatever optic or iron sight weapon you're running. That is going to be your FOV while aimed down sight. So you're going to have that 100 to 120 FOV window reflected on your ADS. So you're going to have essentially less visual recoil, making sure that you're a little bit more accurate at those longer ranges. Overall, a fantastic setting to go ahead and switch to when you are running the proper FOV. If you're ever wondering how other skilled players, YouTubers, streamers seem like they have less recoil, it's because we have the setting set to affected with the corresponding FOV. It's going to make a world of difference. This is a setting that you're going to change and see an immediate improvement without actually having to practice in game. As soon as you boot up a game with this setting enabled, you're going to see a massive improvement to your long range engagement capability, which is amazing. Everything else here is going to be pretty much the same. I have not messed with my weapon field of view. You can go ahead and adjust this. Some people like to go ahead and play narrow, but default just feels the more natural setting to me. So that's exactly why I leave it alone. I have my vehicle field of view set to default as well. I don't play, Warzone, so this doesn't really matter to me. As well as the world motion blur, this is going to be turned off, and weapon motion blur is also going to be turned off. Make sure these settings are disabled, because if they're not disabled, you're going to have a really annoying haze and film over your gameplay, especially if you are maneuvering around the map. And it's also going to make it very difficult to see players that are in darker corners or just literally on darker maps. So make sure you guys have these two settings disabled. In your first person camera movement, I have this set to 50%, as well as third person at 50%. This is so, if a grenade goes off or you have screen shake, it's not going to be as insane as if you were having it at 100. So make sure you guys go ahead and make that setting change. Everything else here is going to be the same. I do have inverted flashbang turned on, so it's a little bit less annoying when I get flashbang. This is going to be really a personal setting that I like to go ahead and enable. And obviously, motion reduction preset, this has to be turned off. Now, the audio settings are also very important. They don't call me ears for nothing. This is going to be incredibly crucial, especially if you're trying to figure out where people are at on the map without having a UAV up. Now, obviously, my master game volume is going to be set to 100, but I do have the gameplay music set down to 30%. This is going to be a really huge help, because the music on this Call of Duty is crazy loud. It sounds great, but it is a little bit overbearing. Everything else here is going to be the same. I have my speaker, headphones, game sound device. This is going to be obviously on the default, whatever you want to have, your game coming through. But this is where you want to make a change. You want to go down to your audio mix. You want to have this at headphones bass boost. Headphones bass boost is going to amplify footstep and gunfight audio, making it a lot easier to determine where people are at on the map without the use of a UAV. This is really crucial to have set on, because if you are playing with a headset that you've bought within the last 5 to 7 years, or with a surround sound stereo system, if somebody is running around the map, you're gonna be able to hear them with headphones bass boost. If somebody is firing an unsuppressed weapon, and even a suppressed weapon, if they're in close proximity, you can hear that and you can have an idea on where people are located. So definitely go ahead and have this setting turned on. You're going to really enjoy it, and it's going to make a world of difference. Everything else here is going to be the same. I've not made any other changes, because in all reality, you don't have to make any other changes. And finally, for the interface settings, the only thing you want to go ahead and adjust is you want to tab over to your gameplay HUD. You want to make sure that your mini map shape is set to square. You do not want to be playing on round, because round is not only going to be harder to read the mini map, but you're going to be getting a smaller picture. Square is going to be bigger, allowing you to see exactly where people are at on the mini map when they are pinged, and it's going to be overall a lot easier to read and interpret. If you do want a video on how to read and interpret the mini map to adjust positioning, as well as figure out where people are spawning at, I can definitely go ahead and provide that. Let me know down in the comment section if you do want to see that video on the channel. I think it would be a perfect time to do so, because in the fact that a lot of people are going to be getting Black Ops 6 for Christmas. These are going to be the absolute best settings to use here in Black Ops 6 if you are trying to drastically improve your aim accuracy, and gun skill. If this video does help you out, feel free, drop a like on the vid, subscribe to the channel, turn on those post notifications, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.